Welcome. Thank you. How is everybody today? It's a nice Thursday here in Florida. We're going to be talking about the job search and social media and your brand. So the first thing we're going to do is have a little bit of food for thought to set the tone for the presentation. I'm going to click on this YouTube video, and if you cannot see it, I will also be pasting the link into your chat box, and you can copy and paste the link. If you can't hear the sound, you can use the link that I sent in the chat box. But it's talking about information they can find on Facebook about the participants. So the whole point of this, can everyone hear me now? Yes, okay. So the whole point of this prank video was to troll through people's Facebook pages after they gave their name and to find out stuff about them and tell them that they could see it. And people were very surprised at what could be seen. And the problem with what can be seen is that people have been fired for what is on their Facebook for all kinds of reasons. This lady over here in the red top holding the wine glass in one hand and a beer glass in the other hand is an elementary school teacher. And this was posted on her Facebook, and she was fired from her school for promoting alcohol. The Elizabeth Lawton, you probably have heard about this. Last Thanksgiving, she posted on her personal Facebook page a comment that criticized Sasha and Malia about the way they were dressing and that they needed to show a little bit more class and respect the part that they play. She thought that because it was on her personal Facebook page, this would be completely appropriate. But it wasn't. It was not considered appropriate. And so she was fired because she was the PR person for a representative. And so she was basically told, you quit or we fire. And this was her personal Facebook page. It was not the PR page. It was not her work Facebook page. So employment retention and termination decisions can be made by some companies. Not every company does this, but it is becoming a bit more prevalent to Google you, to look at your LinkedIn, to look at your Facebook, to look at your Twitter feed, and to look at any blogs you might run. So your relationships, your attitudes, your opinions, everything may be able to be found online. And so you do have to be a little bit careful about what you put there. Yeah. Doran said, wow, yes, it's very, very important to kind of keep that in mind and to talk to our friends, family members about this because a lot of us don't think about the fact that you can find a lot of information out there about us if you just do a little digging, especially if you don't have your privacy set fairly high. So what can you find out about me? I Googled myself. You can find my Facebook. You can see that I have a Facebook page, but you can't see who I am. And you can't figure out which one of these two Doris Van Kampens is me. I have the capital V, but my cousin in Holland has the lowercase v. So there are two of us out there, and of course, since I'm in the United States and she's not, if you Google me, you tend to get my stuff first and her stuff second. What can I find out about you? Well, it depends on what your privacy settings are set to, but here are some samples of things that I have found about various people. I have been able to find out that somebody is unhappy with their dating life and that someone uses an alias for my social media outlets. Well, Facebook is tightening up on that actually. My son was doing that and he got a demand for him to use his real name or they were going to delete his social media. They were going to delete his page. So he had to change it back. He was using a nickname. This person, I don't know who this person is. Their name is Taylor, and they wrote, I hate my boss. Well, their boss was one of their friends. And so the boss posted, you do realize we're friends on Facebook, right? So, and another person was looking for a job in government and then posted, getting blanked by the government, people for justice, with 5 members in that group. And when you hit like, whether it's for or against something, it can be also used because it's not considered free speech. Someone's using their first real name, but last name is an alias. Good, that's not a bad thing, but on the other hand, we're going to get to why it is also a good thing to have social media, because sometimes they look for that in the people that they employ. Now, come on, move on. So if you are job searching, here are some recommendations. You should be Googling yourself. You should not advertise it on Facebook, Twitter, etc., unless you don't currently have a job. You should review and do cleanup of the images, tags, not just of yourself, but others also as well, and ask them to remove any comments, tags, and etc. that you don't want to have shown. Review your friends list, weed it out as needed, and update your privacy setting. Even if you don't change your friends list, update your privacy settings and make sure they're pretty tight so that the casual user isn't going to be able to Google you and see every posting you've ever done in Facebook and Twitter and things like that. And as one person pointed out, Kelly Palma, if you don't want your grandparents to read it on the front page of the newspaper, don't post it on the internet. Yes, that is a very good idea. Don't post it on the internet unless you're sure that you're okay with whoever might stumble across it. And it's not to say that you can't be your own person. I'm not advocating for being a fake person. I'm not advocating for being someone you're not online. But on the other hand, I don't think everyone should let everything hang out online either. That would be kind of like streaking in front of your neighbors. So your potential employer may screen out a candidate based on provocative or inappropriate photographs or information that you've posted, discriminatory comments. One example might actually be the current brouhaha concerning Muslims and immigration and whether or not we should be admitting them into the country as refugees. You have the right to your opinion, but if you were writing it in a manner that was very derogatory, that might trigger a, this person is biased comment, or result in your resume being put to the side. We have better qualified candidates that aren't saying, derogatory things about a group of persons, whether that group is Muslim or of color, because the Black Lives Matter thing's going on right now, or some other thing. So it can be kind of, well, do I want to be in the right pile or the wrong pile? And then Doran Smith said, I just recently started a new job and have been hesitant about getting involved in the company's social media outlet for any potential conflict of interest. What kind of conflict of interest are you thinking about? Doran? Your personal beliefs, etc. Well, one way to handle that is to keep them separated. What is posted on the company's social media outlet is not necessary. You don't have to friend your company's social media outlet. I don't necessarily friend every, St. Leo University probably has 25 or 30 different Facebook pages, and I'm not a friend of any of them. I haven't liked any of them, and yet I have contributed to our library Facebook page. But I don't, because that is, you're drilling a hole into your personal Facebook page when you start following the social media outlets of your company. And so I may contribute to theirs, but I don't friend them to mine. And that's one way of kind of keeping them separate. And I think that's completely appropriate, because your personal stuff is your personal stuff. That's what LinkedIn is for. If you want to friend and follow your employer on LinkedIn, it's completely appropriate. But friending and following them on your personal Facebook and giving them a view of what you do in your own time, if you don't want them to have that view, or you don't want them to have that view of any of your family members. I have a teenager right now, and there's no way I want my employer to see some of the things he posts or his friends. So yeah, if I'm going to follow somebody, I follow them on LinkedIn, not on Facebook. Facebook is my social outlet, not my professional outlet. Absolutely not. Don't friend your employer on Facebook, and don't friend your immediate supervisor or their immediate supervisor. You friend them on LinkedIn, not on your Facebook. Should you provide all of this other information to Facebook, who can and does share it with advertisers and others? Those ads that you see popping up on the right-hand side of your feed are based on things you have in your timeline, your life events, things you've liked, things you've commented on. And so you just kind of have to keep an eye on that stuff. Even your relationship genealogy, who your mom is, your dad is, your aunt, your uncle, your nieces, your nephews. I've told my nieces, don't say who I am. Don't say I'm your aunt in your genealogy. If you say it in a comment online, well, okay. But don't say, hey, Facebook, this is my aunt, this is my mom, this is my dad, this is my grandparent, this is my second cousin. Point taken. Good. I asked them, please don't do that, and please, before they post pictures of me on their Facebook pages, run the picture by me and ask, because our family is not big on guns, but on the other hand, occasionally we have access to a farm, and about once a year we go up there and do target shooting. But if they're going to post 6 pictures of us doing target shooting and clay pigeons, what does that say at that point in time? It tells people where we've been, what we've been doing, and that we do own guns, and possibly that we're big gun aficionados, which most of us are not. And it is perception. So I'm like, please, don't put those pictures up on Facebook because they can be seen by other people who might eventually share them out to other people. And somehow that is how stuff gets out. Because somebody shares with somebody else who shares with somebody else because you're not curating your information. And that's another thing I'll be talking about. So you need to do a privacy checkup. You need to figure out what you want to show and to whom. So what apps do you want to use? Do you want other people to be able to see what apps you have on there? I currently have TripAdvisor, Code Academy, the Bible, Library Thing, and WorldCat. So the Bible app is only available to me. Now, do other people know I use it? Yeah, occasionally I post a Bible verse on my Facebook. And again, I curate that information as to who sees that post. Because I work at a religious institution, and so it would be considered perfectly acceptable here. But if I were to leave here and to go someplace else, how would that be viewed by the next employer? I don't know. And so my postings from the Bible are viewable primarily to me, and the app is viewable primarily, well, in this case, always just to me. So those are the things I think about. I don't necessarily show everything to everybody. It's not their business. I want to be on Facebook, but I don't want to be naked on Facebook. Where can you change your privacy settings? You can do a privacy checkup, and this is primarily on the computer. You have a lot more granular settings on your computer than you do on your phone. So always go to the computer when you're changing your privacy settings, because the ones on the phone are not necessarily as granular. And what I say is, who can see my future posts? Friends only. I can limit it to specific friends, and I have done that occasionally. Most of the time I just leave it at my friendship circle because I don't invite friends to my Facebook and I don't accept friends to my Facebook that I'm not really, really comfortable with. I don't actually have, I think I have one person from work on my Facebook. I lurk on other people's Facebook pages who don't have their privacy settings up, but I do it through other friends. Because again, I think the LinkedIn is where you should be primarily friends with people from work. And that's me. I know probably I'm a little bit strict, but I have found that occasionally when I didn't have it that strict, that people who worked with me were telling other people what was on my Facebook and talking about it. And it wasn't bad stuff, but it was like if I wanted everybody to know, I would have announced it at a meeting, not not on my Facebook page. And so, yeah, I curated my friends list and removed some casual friends from work and only kept the close friend or two that I wanted to keep, who I socialize with outside of work. So my rule of thumb is if I don't socialize outside of work, you don't come to my house, you're on my LinkedIn and not on my Facebook. More privacy settings. You need to review and update frequently your timeline and tagging settings to see who can add things to your timeline, who can see things on your timeline. How can I manage tags? People add about me and tagging suggestions. So you can come in here and make these customized. You can make them for friends. You can make them only for you. So posts you've been tagged in on your timeline, I have to say that it's okay for those things to show up on my timeline. I have to review them. Nobody else gets to see them. And I've got a friend who doesn't work at St. Leo anymore, but used to. And he had sent this beautiful picture out at Easter time. And he posted it there. And then when I went to share it with somebody, it gave me the message, this person chose a specific audience for this post. Only people in that audience will be able to see this when you share it. And I was like, I didn't know you could do that. Doran says that's a real good point about LinkedIn being the professional means of social media interaction with fellow employees. Yeah, I mean, until Facebook came along and things like that, where did we socialize with fellow employees? In the lunchroom or cafeteria or break room, outside the building, the occasional Christmas party or something like that. But we still had our circles that were kind of almost like walls. If they weren't very good friends, they didn't come to our houses and they didn't interact with our other friends. And now, if you're on Facebook, they can interact with your aunt, your uncle, your whoever you also have, and they can friend. And then there's zombie friends. Oh, I'll have to look at that. The zombie friends that are invisible and you can't delete them. Yeah, and those are the ones that are set or that can happen because of privacy settings. Somebody else doesn't change their privacy settings, and so you can become friends of a friends of a friend. Um, and I actually have two or three friends that are friends of other people, even though they've never met them, but they're friends of me. And so they friended them because they liked what they were posting and commenting and stuff, and they saw that, which I find that interesting too. We have all kinds of virtual friends too. But again, the place for your work friendships are probably mostly on LinkedIn and not on your Facebook, unless they're very good friends. Then you can do what we saw, that beautiful image from Easter. Here's a granular posting that you can do. You can say, this is only going to go out to my friends. And why? Because, well, not everyone's going to agree with your posting about the Second Amendment and free speech. On the other hand, the Florida state statute says possessing or discharging weapons or firearms is a felony of the third degree. So this image could possibly be assumed to be that you were promoting the possession and discharging of weapons or firearms. And the person who posted this wasn't in Florida, but still, the person was promoting carry your gun, keep it concealed, and use it as needed. Doran's asking Jacob on what social media type for the zombies. It looks like Facebook. Invisible Facebook friends can see you, but you can't. Yeah, Facebook. Here's the way you can customize any of your posts so that you can prevent certain friends from seeing things. You can share a post only with certain people, and you can keep it from being tagged by unchecking the friends of tagged. So anyone tagged will be able to see this post, and if you uncheck that, then only the people that you sent it to can see that post. Teenagers use this one all the time so that it keeps their Facebook kind of cleaner for their parents and other family members, but they can still share things that they find funny, but they know that their parents won't find funny, or things that are a little inappropriate that they know their parents are going to call them on. And again, that beautiful religious painting had this custom privacy setting used, where the person shared it with a specific number of people using their Facebook emails, and that he unchecked the friends of tags so nobody else could share it with anybody else. And you can use the don't share with option. So don't share with my parents, don't share with my grandparents, don't share with whoever you put in here. So you can share with only or block other people from seeing it. On Facebook, you can add someone and they can deactivate their account. You cannot delete them because they do not show up on your friends list because they've deactivated, but they then can reactivate whenever they want to look at your posts, etc. That's a very sneaky way of doing it, to have an inactive, active account that only shows up once in a while. Yeah, the lesson is just be very super careful about who you add as a friend. Yeah, definitely. But Facebook isn't the only problem. Twitter can also have these issues because Twitter will broadcast your bursts of thought to anyone who cares to read them, and sometimes this can have some significantly negative repercussions. So, for an example, Connor Riley had a job offer from Cisco, and she tweeted, "Cisco just offered me a job, and now I have to weigh the utility of a fatty paycheck against the daily commute to San Jose and hating the work. I don't think she should have posted that, but she also should probably really reconsider about whether she wanted that job. Reply from Cisco, who's the hiring manager. I'm sure they would love to know that you will hate the work. We here at Cisco are versed in the web. So you have to think about, just because it pops into your brain doesn't mean it needs to come out your mouth or onto Twitter or someplace else. It just doesn't have to happen. And we need to remember that it's not, oh, I just have that impulse. I want to post this right now. I want to get some attention. I'm excited about the job, kind of, but I'm not excited about the job. Now, if you'd taken that home and said it to your family, no repercussions. When you post it on Twitter, repercussions. So remember your audience. Remember that insensitive jokes and comments or tweeting and posting about your current or potential employer in a negative manner can affect whether or not you have or keep that job. So no matter how angry or frustrated you are with your current job, please don't vent online. It really can have some serious repercussions. And again, your personal opinions on hot button topics, I would keep them to something over a beer and not to Facebook and not to Twitter and not to places like that. And most of us should know, as good customer service, rude comments about your fellow employees or your customers is death. Don't vent online. Yes, definitely don't vent online. Vent with your friends over whatever your favorite beverage is, or doing your favorite activity. And don't overshare your life with anybody online, because you never know who's a frenemy. You just don't. Or who also has issues with boundaries and lets your information out to other people. And while we've kind of known that in person, when you might have had a beer and two or three and then said something, oh, I don't like this or that about this other person, and then they go back on Monday and share that, well, you learn that lesson pretty quick. But it's a lot harder lesson to learn online because it might not come back and bite you on the butt for months or years, not just a couple of days. So before you start your job hunt, Google yourself. And you should do this frequently anyway, because you never know who might have kind of co-opted your name or have a similar name. You might need to use your middle name or your initial if there's more than one of you. I have an unusual enough name that it's not a big problem, but for other people it could be a very big problem because they might have a very common name in this area. So if you find yourself mixed up with another person with a similar name, but they have a less commendable footprint, perhaps they have a mugshot online, and the first thing that pops up when you search for, say, John Blanco is this mugshot. What are you going to do about that? How are you going to fix it? Well, the easiest way to fix it is to make sure your middle name is up online and that there's a picture of you with your picture at your organization, someplace pretty available so they can look at the mugshot, look at your picture and go, oh, okay, not the same person. If you're using a blog, run it through the Google PageRank checker and see if it comes up. My namesakes post things I would never post. I have a Google alert on my name and I'm flabbergasted at some of the things they have posted. Yeah, I have a namesake, but luckily she doesn't use her first name most of the time. Because she's at that age where I'm sure she's posting some things that I would be flabbergasted about. But that's another good point. Put in a Google alert so that you can look at what's being posted and see if you can respond to it. Now, the Google PageRank checker will not check your LinkedIn profile or your Facebook profile. It's basically just for blogs and things like that. And if you don't have a LinkedIn page, get a LinkedIn page. Everyone should be on LinkedIn. It's free. It's a great professional resource, and it is the place to be professional friends. It is the place to have your work friends that you aren't close to. So if you're not super close to somebody, the appropriate place to friend them is on your LinkedIn. So when you're doing your job search, also check your potential employer's social media policy. Now, again, not every employer has a social media policy, and many of them are not publicly accessible. They're going to be in some kind of master policy manual. And currently, there's no law prohibiting an employer in the state of Florida from requesting personal login information for your social media accounts. Oh, get your LinkedIn back. I mean, you can leave it fallow for a while as needed, but I actually go on LinkedIn fairly often to see who's getting promoted and who's having a work anniversary. Instead of having to write an email saying, hey, congratulations, you've been at St. Leo for 5 years, LinkedIn will remind me, and all I have to do is make a comment saying, hey, congratulations. And I don't do that with everybody, but there are some people that I try to encourage. They're junior faculty, and I know they're working hard. And hey, give them a pat on the back. Hey, you're doing a good job. Hey, I see you published something. It's a much easier way of doing that stuff than to try and keep track of it when everybody's running in 25 different directions. And definitely check your potential employers and your current employer's social media policy to see if you might be violating it. You can do some outlier searching as well using ALA, FLA, Twitter, interestingly enough. The Library of Congress and a couple of other places use Twitter as one of the places to advertise jobs at real quick. And you deleted it because of your previous job. Well, you can, like you said, you can make a clean start. If you're looking at these links, which are in the PowerPoint, you can go to fla.org, twitter.com, and the library job line and look at their Twitter accounts. You can also look at Careers Fed Lib, that's the one for the Library of Congress, USA Jobs, and at US National Archives. So you can see what's coming up for any kinds of jobs up there, and even internships and things that you might want to encourage would-be librarians to look at. Perhaps they want to go volunteer at the Library of Congress this summer. They can find out what volunteer opportunities are available by following some of those Twitter accounts. Sample policies. So, sample policies at the University of Florida, the Glen Ellen Public Library, and the City of Boynton Beach are publicly available for social media. And so those are things that you can look at to go, this is some food for thought, these are some things to think about. So when you get a minute, you can look at those links and check them out. Now let's get to the not negative part of social media. It can convey your personal brand, and I use LinkedIn a lot for that. I've started a blog a time or two, but eventually what happens is I don't have time for it and it goes by the wayside. But in LinkedIn, you can still do a little blog type thing with some little postings. It raises your rank, and they're all in one spot. You're not maintaining one more website, one more page. I use Twitter occasionally, but I like Twitter actually. It's just having time for it on top of everything else. But Twitter is a great place to get on social media and talk about issues in librarianship. Or to promote your library as a, hey, hooray, I'm a proud employee of this organization. It's a great place for that, along with having a personal one if you want. And now in Facebook, have you noticed that they're showing you stuff that's been posted on Instagram? The thing that supposedly goes away after 30 seconds is now being integrated into Facebook and doesn't go away. When employers Google you, they can find content you've created, which indicates to them that you've kept up in your field, that you're tech savvy, and that you're active in your profession. Snapchat goes away. I thought Instagram did too. Because my son was saying, no, Instagram does too. But I'm not on Instagram, so I don't know for sure. Instagram is owned by Facebook. Okay. Yeah, everything is showing up there now. Instagram is picture. Yeah, pictures mostly. And for some recruiters, a lack of professional digital footprint is viewed as a negative. It shows that you're not keeping current, that you're not tech savvy. And it takes time to build that following. You can't do it overnight. It takes several months, if not longer. Could take several years. 15-second videos. The videos go away after some time period, but not the pictures. So here's a branded persona. Now, I'm not a branded persona, but here's one that is. James R. White. He's the director of Alpha and Omega Ministries and Evangelical Reformed Christian Apologetics, organization based in Phoenix, Arizona. So he really does need to brand his persona if he wants to have his organization grow. Hey, you know him. Great. Well, here's his persona online. Now, that probably was not done just by him. He probably has a PR person working with him or for him. He's probably getting someone to help him curate that, because that's got to take a lot of time to get that kind of branding going. And when you search for him, and I was actually searching for a different James White when that came up. I have not seen his videos. I need to go look him up. I was looking for a different James White when this guy showed up in my. I was looking for a college professor that I knew, and this is the one that showed up instead as the branded persona. So here is his branded persona, and he's got it very polished, very professional looking. We probably will not get it to that level. We don't really need it to be at that level because we're not trying to head up our own organization. But for him, he's got to work triple hard at making sure that his branding is out there and that he's visible. Because what does his whole dependency, livelihood depend on? His ability to head up that organization and keep it visible, keep it relevant to the public. And notice it gives his age and the date of his birth, which is coming up, so you can tell him happy birthday. But you can market your brand in a much more low key by making a list of the places you can see yourself in the future, using LinkedIn to connect professionally and look for trends that are being talked about on LinkedIn and elsewhere. You can join specific professional groups on LinkedIn. ACRL is on there, ALA is on there, FLA is on there. There's lots and lots of things on there. The only thing about LinkedIn I have had an issue with is people seeing your profile that I really don't care for them to see. Yeah, LinkedIn is very public, and so you have to just kind of curate your profile. I'm not sure that there's an easy way, if you want to have it out there and want to be visible. I'm not sure there's an easy way to keep it private. I think there are some privacy settings, but not a lot. So then you have to just curate your page or leave it fallow for 6 months or a year, and then people will stop looking for you. But sooner or later, they're probably going to run into you again. And you can use Twitter and a blog for staying active and visible in the profession as well. And don't just tweet, don't just be the one pushing content out. Also follow things that are interesting to you, like the Library of Congress. And there is some research that says that the people who use social media at work and promote that within the company and are perceived as the technically savvy people are slightly less likely to be laid off. And so that's kind of a good thing, don't you think? Okay, so that is kind of the end of my presentation. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I know Doran just said it's not a bad thing, at least you know who's watching. Yes, that's true. And that is nice about LinkedIn. And you will, actually, I did have a recruiter approach me in LinkedIn asking me if I'd be interested in interviewing for a position. Now, I wasn't interested, I wasn't looking, so I politely said no, but it was nice to know that I'm doing something right on my LinkedIn page that got their attention. There's a big increasing, every organization feels like they have to have someone handling their social media. Because there's so much noise out there. There's so much electronic noise and static, and how do you cut through the static to get to your audience? Well, you have to post stuff that people are interested in. And so it's no longer a, hey, this is kind of a side thing and we'll do it as we have time. It's turning into a full-time job. University of Miami has a social media strategist program. I've seen several social media programs popping up, and there are some library schools that are offering social media classes as part of your degree or as part of a certificate. I have seen a couple graduate certificates, and I think one of them was in a library school. Now, the only thing is, if something goes really, really, really wrong, guess who's going to take the fall for it if you're the social media person? It's kind of a new PR person, basically. Oh, such as AM. Oh, you mean as far as which library school? Um, it might have been University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I was trying to think of what website I was on the other day that I saw it. I was looking for a graduate certificate, and it was in something else, and I just happened to run across it. I'd have to look for it again. I'm not sure which library school it was that I saw it at. Doran, what could go wrong? Well, let's think about the shooting at Florida State last year. And there were people tweeting about the shooting when it was occurring. And then there were people tweeting afterwards. And I'm not going to criticize one way or the other about what Florida State did or didn't do because I didn't follow it. But what would have happened if, for example, the PR person uh, posted something on social media about it's all good, nothing really happened, it was a minor incident. Or go the other extreme and post, there's a bloodbath everywhere and, the library is no longer a place you want to be, kind of implication because it was so chaotic and so scary. And what happens if there's another shooting there? So you have to walk a very fine line when something like that happens. You don't want to downplay it to the point where it's nothing, oh, well, it's just one small minor shooting, one deranged person, it would never happen again. But on the other hand, you don't want to make people scared to come to the library. You become a news reporter per se. Yes, you possibly could become a news reporter. As far as managing social media, Jacob is saying, as far as managing social media, it's important to remember your customer service skills and make sure you have good policies and procedures in place. Yes. What if someone posted on your Facebook page, you had posted some pictures of students or users, public library users, patrons, using your library, and somebody posted on your Facebook page, um, you're always posting pictures of this group of people. How would you respond to that? They're basically what they're saying is they're feeling disaffected and left out. And you didn't intentionally do that. You're taking pictures of who's in the library at that time when you have the camera in your hand. So how would you respond to that? You'd have to think about that. You don't want to just block the user off your Facebook page. I guess you could delete their post and then they might post something else. How could you tactfully handle it on your social media page? You don't want to say, well, what pictures would you like to see? Obviously, that's catering to them, and you don't know what they're going to say next. So you have to think of a way to deal with it in a manner that addresses their concerns, but doesn't just like fall over backwards to them. Jacob says, first, we might not respond. Otherwise, my first thought would be, oh, come on in. Sorry, we missed you. Yeah, that would probably be a nice way of responding. Yeah, depending on what they were complaining about, you could properly respond according to what you needed to address in a general sense. I actually did have someone a while ago comment on some of our friends that some people were not, and my guess is it came from somebody who was a bit more conservative or whatever, but somebody posted that the friends list had a lot of girls showing a lot of cleavage, that they weren't covered up enough. And so the private message back to that user was, well, we don't really have control over our friends' public, their profile pictures. And while we see your concern, we understand your concern, social norms vary widely over generations and over cultures. And so that is that is our stance, that we really have no control over their profile pictures, and um, but we do understand your concern based on your own perspective. So you have to think about how can you address their concern and let them know you're listening to them without saying, well, we're going to fall over backwards if we can't, when we really can't. We can't do stuff about that. On the other hand, if they're saying, well, every picture on your library events page is always about this one thing or this group of people, the only people we ever see in here are the friends of the library. Well, how could you address that? Well, probably take pictures at different times of day and at um, more than one type of event. Agreed, Jacob. Recognize their opinion, validate the fact that you've listened to them, and then explain to the best of your ability what you can and cannot do and what you are willing to do or not willing to do. What about if you were having a reading event and the book was during banned book week and it was a banned book and you got a complaint and it was posted to your Twitter account and your Facebook account? You'd laugh at the irony, of course, because they probably didn't realize it was banned book week. Apologize for any misunderstanding as a courtesy, and refer them to the appropriate what? Complaint form. If you have a process in place for filing a complaint about a book or an item, then they need to follow the process. And then you're educating the audience who might have seen the post on Facebook and Twitter. You're responding to their concerns and you're saying you need to go through the appropriate channels. Here is how you do that. And you could have a discussion about the history of censorship and the freedom to read policy. Okay, any other questions or comments? It was great having all of you here. I really enjoyed the time spent with you all. I hope to see you again. It's hard to do any education on